My family history begins with Thayenega, one of my ancestors on my mother's side. He was born in 1742 along the Ohio River. His parents lived in New York, but were in the Ohio country on a hunting trip when Thayenega was born. His English name was Joseph Brant. He attended a residential school by the name of Moore's Charity School for Indians in Lebanon, Connecticut. He later moved on to becoming a Mohawk Indian chief, as well as a Christian missionary and a British military officer. His sister Molly was the wife of Sir William Johnson, a British superintendent for Northern Indian Affairs. Brant followed Johnson in a battle at the age of 13 to the last French and Indian War in 1754. In 1777, Joseph Brant led 4 of the 6 Iroquois nations on the British side in the American Revolution. The American Revolution started when 13 of Great Britain's North American colonies won political independence and went on to form the United States of America. The war followed more than a decade of growing division between the British Crown and a large segment of its North American colonies. After the war, Joseph Brant discouraged any further Indian warfare on the frontier and encouraged peace treaties. Afterwards, Brant was awarded a grant of land on the Grand River in Ontario. His followers and him lived peacefully until Brant died on November 24, 1807, in the land now known as Brantford. It is hard to recover the big connection between my immediate family and Joseph Brant. If my great-grandma was around, I'm sure I would be able to define more of my family. But for now, I'll move ahead to the eldest person in my immediate family. On April 23, 1950, my grandma, Donna Castler, was born. By the time she had turned 14, she had joined her family working on a tobacco farming plantation. Tobacco farming became a great source of income and employed thousands of locals and seasoned workers. In good season, it produced over 238 million pounds a year. They worked long hours, but it paid off in the long run. My grandma and her family averaged about $500 per person. Even in later generations, my mother and uncle worked in tobacco as well. Another important part of my grandma's teen years was the ever-so-enjoyed hippie culture. Hippies were the hipsters of the 1960s. It originated in Greenwich Village, New York, San Francisco, and California. They were characterized to have long hair, beards, and unconventional clothing. They celebrated the use of drugs, such as LSDs and marijuana. They had an affinity to non-Occidental religions and believed in pacifism and equality to all people. Fortunately, my grandma only enjoyed the music, especially the Beatles, the fashion, and religion. My grandma herself said I was not a cool hippie. Another important... In 1972, my grandma met Jean Lavoie, and in 1973, they unofficially married and became Jean and Donna Lavoie. By 1974, my grandparents had their oldest child, my Uncle Paul. 4 years later, my mother, Danielle, was born. As my mother grew up, she began going to a Christian church with her friends, but was later converted to the pagan religion. Traditionally, the religions are based on respect for nature, as well as worshipping the divine through masculine, feminine, and no-gender imagery. In 1991, there is an estimated 5,530 Wiccans, or followers of pagan beliefs. But many people think practicing Wiccan rituals to be witchcraft and the devil's work. So my mother was criticized with the way she thought and worshipped, but she will never disrespect other religions because of their differences, like those who criticized her. My mother has no specific subdivision of pagan, and still practices things such as candlework and herb mixing. She even considers supernatural occurrences to run in the family. In 1995, my mother started dating Patrick Hodgins, and 4 years later had their first child in 1999 on February 16th and named her Destiny. They then married on May 13th, 2000. But their biggest achievement in their lifetime would be what occurred on October 5th, 2000. Me, Jessica Hodgins. I was supposed to be a boy named Aaron after my great-grandfather, but I'm full of surprises and popped out a healthy little girl. I grew up moving around a lot for no specific reason, but we were able to stay in the same school. In 1990, life was good and steady. But unfortunately, on May 6, 2000, my dad passed away from a heart attack, and our family suffered huge losses. We moved again, missed a lot of school, but I think it was the support of our friends and family that put us right back on our feet. People tell me it's okay if I don't want to talk about it. But honestly, I think that experience is something important about my life. It'd be like losing a part of myself if I tried to hide it. Life was... Now to present day. We've moved yet again. I live with my grandma, my mom, and my sister. We've been in this house for about 4 or 5 years now. I've been offered so many great opportunities presently as well. I attend Knox Presbyterian Church with Emily for about 5 years now, where I go to youth group, volunteer in the nursery, and work at a summer camp. I've gotten the chance to learn how to sew and create awesome costumes for conventions thanks to my wonderfully creative mother. And the great thing about my family is we all love designing things, so I get the experience of a lifetime from the comfort of my own home. I've made a few costumes since I've gotten to high school, and I'm getting better with every new idea. Designing is everything in my life. I don't know what I would do without it. Even my grandma, who was infatuated with the 70s fashion, continues to take interest in fashion and designing. And I'm definitely sure Joseph Brent had his own spin on fashion as well. My name is Jessica Hodgins, and I'm proud to say I am part of this family. Now to present day. We've moved yet again. I live with my grandma, my mom.